Yeah, thanks so much for talking to Liberty One TV. As far as you were in Berkeley over the weekend, correct?
Yes, on
And
Sunday. Yep.
what was the experience like for you? Have you been to a Patriot Prayer rally before?
Well, yeah, I've been to a Patriot rally, two of them before this, and I kind of had a general idea of what I was going to expect, but it was definitely, it's definitely different in person for sure. It was very intense.
Now, you originally, from what Robert had kind of told me, was that you kind of went for fun, kind of went for the cause, and then your, I guess, your idea of the whole thing changed. Tell me kind of your story going into this.
Right. Um, well, there's always like a sense of fun to it. I always tried to make it more purpose, though, to what I was doing. I'll make that clear. There was a sense of it, like, okay, we're going in with a group of guys, just like it's just a brotherhood type of thing. I'm there with my brothers. We're like-minded. There's people that hate us. So there was that sense of fun to it. I was going in with a mentality is, I want the world to see, the extent of their violence. But what opened my eyes truly was the fact that they attacked somebody that had their hands up. So it was so eye-opening to me is that, like, what I thought their extent of the violence was right here, but it really it's past that. It's past what I thought it was. So there's no more fun in this to me. It's a completely different. This is a completely different attitude I have towards it now. I either want to. It's not fun. I guess I'll just say that it's not fun to me anymore. It's more purpose driven now.
And what is now the purpose for you? I mean, kind of, what do you want to get out of this now? Because again, you said here is supposed to be fun, totally changed. What is the purpose for you now?
I'll never stop doing whatever I can to expose to the world how violent these people are. And I'm going to approach it in a peaceful way, right? Mm-hmm. But my goal is to show and get as much footage out there of how violent these people are. Mm-hmm. That is my purpose now.
And as far as that purpose, did you ever think that you were going to have, that you would change like that? I mean, did you ever think that, your purpose and all of this would ever change and this would eventually be the outcome?
I never, no, I always thought it was going to be like a brotherhood type of thing. We're going into battle type of thing. But now it's, I'll do it solo, just like I did on Sunday. I'll go by myself if I have to, or I'll go with just the other people that are there. I'm not going there to talk crap anymore. I'm not going there to, to troll or to be trolled or anything like that. I'm there to just, even if I have to stand there silent like I did, just to take the butt end of this so the world could see.
Now, you said you were there silent, and you actually were attacked. What happened to you?
Right. Me and the guys, we walked in, had our hands up first, and then I switched to a peace symbol. We're side by side for a little bit as the mob started swarming us. We kind of formed a back-to-back formation. We were just back-to-back, trying to just hold our ground, essentially. In the middle of that, we were getting pushed. I get pushed kind of to another direction. As I get pushed that way, a guy swings a wooden flagpole at my head and knocks me unconscious. I'm unconscious for probably about 2 or 3 seconds. And my friend that's with me, and I gotta say thank you so much, Tiny, because you saved my life, man. Like, you picked me up off the ground, and they could have stomped me. One person attacked me when I was on the ground, so Tiny, thank you. Mm-hmm. And when he pulled me up, I got back into my senses, but I was so disoriented. Like, when I took a step, my whole world was moving. I had spaghetti legs. So the first thing that came in my head was, you got to take your bandana off, because I had an American flag bandana and I had goggles on. I said, you got to take that off so they can't recognize you, or it won't be as easy to recognize you. So I took it off and I threw it in my pocket, and again, I got spaghetti legs, so I'm stumbling through the street. This guy behind me says, "Oh, where are you going, mother?" Mother effer to me. And I threw my peace signs up again. I'm like, man, I don't want any trouble, because, I can barely speak. I can barely hear at this point, and my vision's like tunnel vision, It's just like a big blur to me, and I have this ringing in my ears. So I'm like completely vulnerable and, like alone at this point. I look behind me, Tiny and Joey are up the street. So I'm like, I got to get to this damn police line, which is a few yards in front of me. As I approach the police officers, I'm saying, hey, I got struck, which is... By the way, this is the injury. It's a lot worse, like in person, and it was a lot worse 2 days ago. But like, my eyes are rolling as I'm talking to these police officers. I say, "Officer, please, I've been struck in the head. Really, I didn't know how bad it was. I was like, I've been struck." And they said, "Keep moving." The officer said, "Keep moving down the line." And I'm like, even more confused at this point, So I'm like walking again, spaghetti legs. And I'm asking officers for help. Finally, this guy comes and he grabs me. He's like, "Sit down." I'm sitting down, and groups of protesters are still coming in front of me. I look behind me. There's feet walking up behind me, and I'm hearing yelling and voices. I'm sitting there like this, though. I'm like rocked,
Right.
And then a police officer comes up to me. He's like, "Are those your friends?" And he's pointing at Joey Gibson and Tiny. And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Okay, well, walk with me." Well, as I walk, I stumble forward onto the police car, and another police officer comes out with like a billy club, and he's like, back up. So I'm like, okay, I back up, and this officer like grabs me. He's like, "You need to sit down," and I'm like trying to sit down, but I can't, because like I have no motor skills, And they put me on the ground, and this other cop comes out, and all I can hear is like, "Man, motherfucker, get on me!" And I'm like, "Well," and I'm looking at him, and he's like, "Get on your face, get on your face." So I'm like, okay, I get on my face and I put my hands behind my back, and they're like, "All right," and they start taking my hand and they put behind my back, and they put these zip ties on me, and they help me up, and the cop that's walking me back, I think he had a helmet on or somebody, like pulled his mask back, and you could just see in his eyes though that he wanted to help, that he was being told to stand down in a time that he didn't want to stand down. I think he was the police officer that took me in initially. And they took me to the back of the police station where there was like a gazebo, like a tent. And they had us take our electronics out the pocket and put on the table, which I thought they were going to like take footage. Like the paranoid guy in me was like, they're going to take my footage or something like that, which I didn't even film. So I told them I didn't film anything. They said, "No, it's just for the water when they're spraying me down." They sprayed me down, and that's when I actually noticed that I was burnt by the spray that hit Tiny and Joey. They were hit with a bear mace or something. I caught it on my back and my arms, a little bit in my eyes. But the head thing was the biggest thing, and the fire department came, and the rest of the story is, me and Joey rode in the ambulance to the hospital. He hit the shower room. They took me in the back. They checked my vitals and my pupils, and they said I needed to check a brain doctor in a few days. So,
did you ever? That's what happened, I mean, you said you went into this thinking that this was going to be fun, that this was going to be, a free speech thing. Did you ever expect you were going to walk out with what happened, and that you would see a lot of what you saw?
I did not think they'd be that evil. Honestly, like I said, I had this prayer or conversation in my head walking up to it when I was standing, because none of us talked walking up there. We just knew what was happening, and I just prayed, just let me get out of here alive. I knew something was going to happen, but I didn't know that some guy in a helmet and goggles was going to come up behind me with a flagpole like this thick and just knock my brain in. My eyes felt like they're like in my cheeks there, and I'm still messed up from this. It comes in and out from over the last couple of days. So no, I didn't think it would be like that, at all. To answer your question.
As far as, you said you were explaining a little bit with the police officer that the one that helped you originally. You said it looked like he wanted to help, but he wouldn't because he was told not to. There's a lot of people that I've talked to that were there that said the same thing, that it seemed like police were told not to help. From what you saw and from what you can remember, did you see police helping at all, arresting Antifa members? I mean, what do you remember?
No, not at all. Not at all. It was, I'm telling you, I had to see it myself. And now that I see it, it's like I wish I could unsee it because it's too real to me now. Like all the things that I read about 1984 and how the media would spin things, and it's real. And I saw it myself, and I saw the eyes of a police officer that was sympathetic to me and what I was doing. And he couldn't voice that. He's not in a place where he can voice that he was sympathetic. It was in his eyes, and he was frowning. When I was answering his questions, he was like, he couldn't believe what was going on himself. So I know for a fact that there's officers in there that are being told, or the city's telling them to stand down, and they don't want to stand down.
As far as, do you remember kind of the time that you showed up to the rally, and then kind of how long into it where you looked around and realized this is not good?
Yeah, we all met up at a hotel probably about 2 hours before we went down, and we were watching all the live feeds, and we were all coming to the conclusion that if we went down there, it would be a suicide mission, essentially. We all came to that conclusion. So we took our time getting down there, and then making that decision. What was the quickest decision of the day? Like walking up into the crowd of Antifa, was the quickest decision of the day. But getting to that spot took a couple hours, just because of all the footage we were watching.
You're saying a suicide mission. You're saying with going with your brothers. Are you military, or do you have a military background, or?
No, my father was a Marine for 20 years. My brother was a Marine for about 9 years. I tried to enlist in the Army, but I had shattered my kneecap snowboarding, and I got hit on my motorcycle riding my ankle. I just recently tried to enlist a few months ago, but my injury stopped me. So. This was always a way of me trying to serve my country. It was a big regret of mine not joining the Marines fresh out of high school. My buddy joined. I didn't join. I backed out. And I always lived with that regret of, not doing anything for my country. So, this was just, honestly, was something that I've always wanted to do. When I seen the guy get hit by the bike lock, I said, you know what, hit me. I'd rather take the hit than anybody on my side take the hit. And I don't even know these people, and that's essentially why I went out there, because I got what I wanted, which was to take the hit instead of somebody else.
And one of the things that they're saying about a lot of these people that are going to these free speech rallies, they're saying that you're a neo-Nazi, that you're a white supremacist, that you are violent, that you are wanting to go in there and, kind of, I guess it's like domestic terrorism. Is that what you are?
Absolutely not. I disavow any type of supremacy on any type of level. I'm not even 100% white, so I wouldn't even identify as a white supremacist. And my family's all military, so to be called a Nazi is just so ridiculous to me. My family have devoted themselves to this country and the type of people that fought, those types. So it's just ridiculous. My whole thing was, and I've had a page up, on back the right. I was going in to protect the elderly and speakers, and my actions have proved that. Anytime I've ever seen an injustice done in front of me, I wanted to be the bigger person and stand up for them. So I wasn't necessarily going there to fight more than going there to defend.
You know, you brought up an interesting point where you said you've read 1984. You've seen pictures of, you know, for example, events like this during the civil rights movement, during Vietnam, during the 1960s. Did you ever think at how old are you, Pete?
I'm 28.
Okay. Did you ever think at 28 years old in 2017 that you would be seeing a lot of those images and living what you read in a book in 2017?
It was always my worst nightmare, being honest with you, because I mean, while all the other kids were out playing in high school, I was looking up all the conspiracy theories and things like that, you know. So I mean, it was always my worst nightmare. But to expect it, like I said, living it is like completely different. To see it happening is like I still can't believe it, even though I've expected it. You know, like I felt like it was inevitable, but to see it still, like it's such, I'm still in shock. Like I can still hear them in my head. You know, calling me a Nazi, like it's that like real, you know.
And you know what's interesting too is there's a certain group, for example, you know, like one of my business partner for Liberty One, he also is always into conspiracies. You know, I was always into reading history and kind of, you know, not so much conspiracies, but looking at history and seeing how it has always kind of repeated itself. It seems like there's a small select group of people that are into those conspiracies, and that kind of stuff always interested them. Is there a particular reason as to like what drew you to that? Or because a lot of these people that have been into conspiracies are now saying like, we are living what I was into when I was a kid, you know?
Right. I can tell you exactly what brought me so deep into this. Besides the bike lock incident, seeing that guy getting his head smashed by the bike lock, it was how the media treated Trump, you know, like, because at first I was like, Trump's running for president, like, no way, you know, and I was listening, oh, this guy's, I was letting the media speak for me too, even though I was always like a conspiracy buff. But when I looked at Trump and the things that he said, and the things that he was saying at the rally, and how the media was spinning it, and then all these people that were coming out, all these, you know, like the Pope came out, all different types of people coming out saying that Trump is evil. And I sat back and I said, wow, you know, like, this is confirming everything, because I see it myself that Trump is not doing these things, you know, like saying these things at the rally. I'm seeing personally how they're twisting it. So I'm like, okay, let me go further down the rabbit hole. And then that's when I start discovering Antifa and start discovering how people are getting shut down at these rallies. And then I'm just sucked in for life. You know, I'm just too deep in it now.
So then where do you go from here? What's next for you?
Well, I got to take at least a month off, you know, just because these guys are so unpredictable with their attacks and everything. But, you know, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to go out there. My whole approach, like I said, is going to be peace and trying to get that. But like I said, my main focus is going to be exposing these people through film. Even if I got to dress up as one of them, I'm going to expose these people, and they're not going to know, you know. Like I said, even if I got to put the black mask on myself to get in their lines, I'm going to expose these people.
Well, I appreciate you very much talking to me and putting your neck out there, because, or literally your neck out on the line, because, you know, this is not easy, and what we're dealing with today is very difficult. So I really appreciate you talking to me. And keep in touch.
So much. Hey, thanks for reaching out to me too. I really appreciate it.
Oh no, and keep in touch with me, because, like I said, when there's the one in September that's coming up, and again, this is going to be on Liberty One TV, so we're going to kind of be following a lot of these protests that are going on, because, you know, they're not stopping, and neither are we. Right. So yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, take care, and hopefully that noggin gets better.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They didn't kill me. Made me stronger.
I know.
Thank you.
Thank you so
America.
much.
MAGA.
Free thought for free people.